Hey everybody, JB Brown here. So listen, if you haven't heard of me before, you're not alone. But you will very soon start to hear more from me. A little bit about me. Up until now, I've been the guy that Fortune 500 companies and entrepreneurs call when something's wrong. So whether it's a significant problem that needs to be solved and they need a framework on how to solve that very specific problem, whether it's a personnel issue, so maybe you have a high performing team that for any number of reasons is no longer performing well, then I will often come in and try to troubleshoot a solution for that team. And finally, I own 6 businesses myself that range anywhere from e-commerce based businesses selling physical products that I source all over the world on platforms like Amazon, Shopify, WooCommerce, etc., all the way down to brick and mortar local companies that I acquire that are just great companies. And then I also have a human capital company. What is human capital? Human capital is simply all the employees that any organization has and stewarding those employees well. So, why are you hearing from me right now? Well, I've had a number of friends reach out to me recently with problems, and I suspect those problems, of course, related to this coronavirus outbreak, I suspect those problems are widespread. And so when those folks reach out and I help them, I can't help but wonder, gosh, maybe others could benefit from this. So here's my commitment to you. I will go live every single workday for as long as this coronavirus sort of social distancing situation lasts. And I'll try to provide you with some exceptional tools, tips, tricks, maybe just some thoughts that you can use in your business and in your life to try to help you get through it. And I will charge you exactly $0 for that. I really just want to help. And I think I have some insight based upon my experience that can be helpful. So today, we're going to start off with my tips on not being paralyzed by negativity during challenging times, because that's one of the greatest challenges we face as businessmen and women. Everything starts coming at you. Many of the things that come at you are outside of your control. So locus of control is the $10 phrase. External locus of control, things that you don't control. Internal locus of control, things that you do control. Okay. So right now we're going to focus on both, but the external locus of control can create negativity, and negativity can paralyze us. All right. So I'm going to share my screen with you. And by the way, stay tuned because this won't be long. And at the end, one of my best tricks for leading through challenging times and avoiding negativity is humor. So I've got some humor for you at the end that I think you're going to love. So stay with me here. All right. So let me share my screen. Let's go here, share. All right. So my tips on not being paralyzed by negativity in challenging times. Number one, whoop, hang on. Let me get on the right screen here so I can actually change it. Emotion is a tool, but not a rule. I know, it's very clever. Um, Negativity, anger, passion, love, sadness, happiness. All of these things are emotions that we can use really productively in our business. Sometimes, so if you go to the gym sometimes and you need to get through a particularly difficult workout, for me, believe it or not, that's a great place for me to challenge some anger that I might have built up, because I can use that anger to get through the physical exertion of finishing a workout, especially when I'm working with weights. So that anger I can use to fuel my workout. Same thing with feeling slighted. A lot of us entrepreneurs, we're sort of born with chips on our shoulders. Like, how dare you tell me that I can't do something? Watch me prove you wrong. Anybody ever felt like that? Most of us. Same with business people. You don't necessarily have to own a business to feel that way. If you're a high performing business person of any type, and I've met thousands and worked with some of the best, almost all of them have a chip on their shoulder. It just depends upon the level of visibility of said chip. So what they all do is they figure out how to use emotion in a controlled and productive way to achieve whatever end they have in mind. So let me give you some specific examples. Negativity and feeling worried. feeling negative about a situation, like many folks do right now with coronavirus, it can actually be beneficial to you if you can control it, because it can allow you to see pitfalls and weaknesses in your business that you didn't see before. You may have some challenges with your cash management that you didn't really have to consider before. You may not have your cash reserves where they need to be. Your relationships, if you're selling physical products, with your supply chain, all the way from the top to the bottom, might not be as tight as they could be. And you're only now realizing it because it's been stress tested. Okay. So negativity and a critical eye and a bent toward being critical can help you to really analyze some of these problems that you're having. Maybe you're having an employee productivity problem. Perhaps your employees are being a little bit less loyal right now than you would have expected that they would be. What you need to do is to be able to look underneath to the foundational reasons why that might be happening. Is it the employee, or is there an issue with leadership with us at the top? Okay, so all those are examples as to how well-controlled negativity and critical thinking can be a positive to lend an eye to your business that's constructive and say, this isn't good, but here's the pitfall. If you fall too far into a negative cycle, you become critical. If you become critical, you can end up creating somewhat self-fulfilling prophecies that are not productive. So what I try to do is simple balance. For every couple of things that I point out that are negative about a situation or a business, I try to come up with a couple of positive things. All right. Because really, we're not looking to beat our businesses in the ground and beat ourselves up for not having prepared better for something that none of us could have seen coming. Instead, what we want to do is just with as little emotion as possible say, all right, this is going poorly. Why? And what could I have done differently so that this situation wouldn't be as painful as it is right now? All right. Joy is another good example of the type of emotion that you can use positively with employees. Because if you have an employee that does something amazing, especially in a challenging time, maybe if you own a software company, they solve a very challenging coding problem that you're having that's preventing your customers from interfacing with your website. Or perhaps there's a problem with your cart on the back end of one of your offers and it's down and nobody can figure out why, and you have a coder that figures it out. You want to express joy. You want to use joy as an honest expression of your gratitude and appreciation for that employee solving a profoundly important problem for you. So another example where emotions are very beneficial. But here's the second part of this equation. You don't want to be ruled by them. You don't want to be so ruled by your emotions that you remove the ability for yourself to be in control of the situation and to make consistent, well thought out decisions. All right. So that's all I have on the first slide. Next, benchmark to past experience. Look, this is a weird situation, this coronavirus deal that we find ourselves in, and no one entirely knows how long it's going to last and what the severity will be. Anyone who tells you that they do is lying, okay? Maybe most importantly to themselves. So there are a lot of folks who are very bright who I follow who have conflicting opinions about this. But let me take coronavirus and a pandemic and put it to the side for a moment, okay? In business, we're always going to have unexpected black swan events, okay? We're going to have things that pop up that we didn't anticipate that impact our business either negatively or positively. Our day-to-day preparation and our consistent approach to being committed to a spirit of continuous improvement is going to allow us to be ready when those events happen. Okay. So all of us have been through difficult times before, varying degrees, but everyone has had a challenge that they've overcome, whether it was in your personal career, whether it was other challenges you've had with your business. What you really would do in a moment like this is to look back at those times, especially the harder ones, and just try to draw out what you did well in that situation and what constructive and productive things you were able to do that allowed you to make it through, and then just apply those same things to right now. Okay, so here's an example. For a lot of businesses, this is going to cause cash flow problems. Look, everybody's had cash flow issues. Okay, so what did you do before? I will say that it looks like there's going to be some unprecedented stimulus packages available to business owners, into industry, into individuals that we haven't even had before. So back in '08, when a lot of folks also got hit hard, some of these stimuluses were not available. So There's that. There's, can you look at your cash flow and critically evaluate, um, is every dollar being well spent? Are there dollars being spent in areas where you can cut back and you don't necessarily need those dollars to be spent? Can you reach out proactively to your suppliers and improve the relationship, water test the relationship, and have an honest conversation about, hey, listen, I'll give you an example. So I source from China in one of my businesses, and conversations that I'm having are, you guys are having a difficult time with production because of what's happened to you and your families, and we're having a difficult time because it's just now starting to hit us. We're already dealing with significant delays. Many of our retail platforms are shut down. Even if they're not shut down, we're having a difficult time getting the products from um, warehouse to end consumer because of supply chain. All that being said, is there any way that we can work together to solve both of our problems? So I commit to continuing to order from you and to future orders to deepen our relationship. And in the interim, perhaps you are in a position to give me some more favorable terms. Perhaps they can stretch out how long they need a payment from you. Um, and by the way, if you are having products manufactured, today is not the time to be putting down heavy deposits, especially if you're not able to validate raw materials. Okay, so I'll go further into that in another video that I'll do in the coming days. A little bit more nitty gritty with folks that are selling physical products, but for right now, that's just a good example of, because I've had challenges before with cash flow in various businesses, I already know steps that worked to try to go ahead and solve for some of those challenges now. So just draw upon previous experience in your life, the experience of friends in your circle that are in a position to give advice, and make your decisions based upon what's worked in the past that maybe clearly isn't specifically a pandemic, but is a disruptive event to your business and what worked well and what you can do moving forward. All right. So number three, create what I call IBCs. I call these the root beer approach. IBC root beer. Some of you don't know what that is, but IBC root beer. So IBCs, intentionally binary choices. What is that? It's one of the most powerful tools that I have used myself and that I've used with clients to help them navigate through a particularly vague and paralyzing situation, because that can happen when the stakes get high. We can feel paralyzed because we're not sure that either solution is a good one, neither is perfect, and there's not a clear idea as to where to go. So here's what I like to do. Create an intentional situation where you really just have two options, okay? So let me give you a specific example. Um, let's say you are having a difficult time in your business and you want to pull the trigger on something, but you're not sure whether it's the right play. So maybe it's getting a line of credit. All right, I'll use a very common example. So you're having a cash flow crunch, or maybe it isn't even related to a pandemic. Maybe the cash flow crunch is your product that you have launched in your business. And that could be a service or it could be a physical product. It really doesn't matter. It's doing well. Well, we all know that sometimes one of the most challenging things is when your product starts doing well and it starts to fly off the shelf, or your offer starts to fly off the shelf, especially if it's capital intensive. You run out of money sometimes before you receive the money from your customers. It just depends upon your revenue cycle. So one of the more challenging things is realizing, uh-oh, we have to grow this. In order to scale it, we need more money. But if we get more money, there are going to be some hoops that we have to jump through, and they're going to be perhaps a loss of equity, a loss of control. If it's a bank, a loss of any number of things. That's a negative. So would it be better to bootstrap and just slowly grow over time? Or would it be better to go ahead and get, a $500,000 credit line so that we can significantly ramp up our production and our ability to deliver to our customers? They're really sort of two choices. Neither is bad or good, but they're a hard choice to make. So here's what I like to do. I like to say, what is my opportunity cost if I don't get the line of credit? Well, my opportunity cost is it takes me probably 4 times longer to grow. It makes it more difficult for me to do X, Y, and Z. Therefore, here's my opportunity cost. So the next logical step to create my intentionally binary choice is, I can either continue doing exactly what I've been doing the exact way that I've been doing it, and I'll get this predictable result, or I can grow 4x in the next year. I can't do both. I can't continue what I was doing the exactly way I was before, exactly the way I was before, or I can make a change and here's the result that I'm going to get. So what I'm doing is creating an intentional binary choice where I just have to pick one or the other. When you have four, five, six choices, it becomes really difficult to make a hard decision. So another even more simple example would be if you have a self-limiting behavior. We all do. Every one of us has a self-limiting behavior. So let's give an example. Let me try to think of one from the news. Um, I don't want to make anybody, I don't want to say negative things about anybody. So here's what I'll say. I worked with an executive once who he was rude. He was really rude. And in his mind, he was being direct and transparent and honest. But the way that that direct, transparent, honest approach came through to anyone he was talking to was abusive, rude, and disrespectful. So in working with him, a lot of folks had tried to give him some feedback and he didn't take it well. So I was brought in and it was one of the quickest engagements I've ever had. Why? Because after about 15 minutes, I just said, hey, do I have your permission to share my candid thought with you, my honest feedback with you? Because I might be the only person who has no stake in this at all, other than your development. I have no stake whatsoever. I have no ulterior motive. My only objective here is to help you be successful. That being said, can I share an observation? Yeah, absolutely. You can either continue to speak to people the way that you're speaking to people, um, or you can have a job. You can't do both. It was that simple. You can either continue to speak to people the way that you're speaking to people, or you can continue to move up in the organization. You can't do both. So uh, framing it in that way for his particular personality made it very clear and very obvious, like, uh-oh, this is serious. I have no choice but to either continue what I'm doing or make a change. So that's creating an intentionally binary choice. And there are thousands of examples where you could do that. And if you want to learn more about that, just type something in the comments and I'm happy to give more examples and I can put out some more content on this specific thing. But it goes to, it's a valuable tool for anything from inventory planning to succession planning with your business to considering potentially an exit of your business, hiring practices, a lot of things. I use it in my marriage sometimes, you know. Here's a good marriage example. I can be right or I can have a happy marriage. I can be right all the time or I can have a happy marriage. I can't do both. And anyone who's married knows exactly what I mean. So that is a good example of an intentionally binary choice in IBC. All right, number 4. This is a good one. And this actually carries over from IBCs, intentionally. So understand that you will never win a popularity contest and lead well. That is actually an intentional binary choice right there. Okay. So let me give you a couple of examples. Schools right now are having to make very difficult decisions. And forgive the expression, but they're damned if they do, and they're damned if they do, and they're damned if they don't. Because there are going to be parents and community members who are upset if the school doesn't close for obvious reasons. We have a public health crisis, and you really want to exercise an abundance of caution in that type of situation. So, to some of you listening to this right now, that seems like obviously, why would anybody be upset at that? Well, there are a lot of people who don't believe that the coronavirus is a real threat. And all they're seeing is weeks, potentially months of disruption to their normal daily life where they have to make plans with their kids for their kids that they did not have to make before. And so school officials and public officials are in a very untenable and unenviable position where they're having to make very difficult choices where they're going to be a villain no matter what they do. In that situation, you still have to lead well. So what does that mean? In your business, you have to look at all the data that you have available to you and then just stick your foot in the ground and make the best decision moving forward that you can. So that might mean that you have to let some employees go because you can't pay employees for a month to do nothing. It may mean that you do need some employees so much that you have to eat it and you have to pay them anyway because losing them, would be far more catastrophic to your business than potentially having to subsidize a month of them not being productive for you. Now, of course, this depends upon the nature of the business that you're in, but that's a decision that you may have to make. So at the end of the day, what's important is that you make that decision based upon what's right for your business and what's right for you and not what's going to make you popular or not. Because if you show me a leader in a business that's consistently popular, I'm going to show you a leader who won't be a leader for very long. Okay. So these are hard decisions that we have to make, and you don't have to make them alone. There are a lot of resources out there. We can reach out to me. You can reach out to a number of other business leaders out there who have programs that help folks make hard decisions. But the only thing you can't do is to not make a hard decision because it might make you unpopular. All right. Finally, this is really simple for a lot of us, but we forget to do it. In times like this where it's hitting the fan, so to speak, conduct a basic SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Okay. Because the thing that got you to where you are today might not be the thing that gets you through this pandemic. You may have to pivot a little bit and make some tweaks to your business. You might have to make some drastic changes to your business based upon your unique strengths as an organization and your strengths as a leader, the strengths you have within your human capital, your people, your opportunities. There will be opportunities here. I promise you that. You just have to think a little bit harder as to what they might look like for you and your business. Threats, some of the threats are obvious. Some of the threats are just what's going on in our nation and in the world right now when it comes to supply chain, finance, communication, all of those things. Okay. Um, and then you take all of those pieces of information, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and you aggregate it into a solution that's custom to your business. And you might only have 2 or 3 things that you need to do. And I would force rank them in order of importance so that you don't get bogged down with a million things and get paralyzed. But come up with 1 to 3 things that you can do in any given day or week, that by doing those things, everything else becomes not quite as important. Okay. um, Jay Papasan, I think, is who wrote the book, The One Thing. It's a great book, by the way. If you have some time, grab it, read it. And essentially, that's what he talks about. Is often many of us have too many things on our plate that we're working on, and so we become a little bit ineffective. So the best thing you can do is to force rank your list of things that you need to do, and just take the 1 or 2 things. He says one, but sometimes that's not realistic. What one thing can I do right now that by doing it, I will make almost everything else either irrelevant or just not as important? All right. So that's another idea that I can give you. So all of these are tools to sort of give you knowledge and give you information and to give you tactics so that you don't have to feel ruled by emotion and negativity. Taking action will help you to feel less powerless. Okay. So we'll take some action. We will look at the facts. What was it? Dragnet, the facts, just the facts, ma'am. Let's look at the facts and try to figure out how we move from where we are right now to where we need to be, and how do we bridge the gap in between those things. And then finally, for today, I'm going to leave you with my favorite tool for managing myself and my business during difficult times, which is humor. All right. Have you guys seen the concept lately of my coworker? So my coworker is something I've been seeing circulating around. I put it on my Facebook page, and I'm getting some phenomenal, hysterical feedback. So all of us, most of us are working from home right now. Maybe not all of us, but a lot of us. We're not really used to that. Um, and guess who else is working from home? Our kids. So my kids right now are in the other room, and they have their own laptops that they're working with. I end up having to get another Chromebook because we didn't have enough laptops in the house. Weird problems that you don't think about when your kids are going to school. So I live in Gwinnett County, Georgia. It's a little bit north of Atlanta. Gwinnett County, shout out. They're doing a really great job with having a plan for digital learning. They've had this for a while. So I'm very grateful that they're prepared. Um, so my kids are doing digital learning, but they're here. They're in the house. They're running around. So while I'm trying to conduct business and do things, they're they're there. So it would be unrealistic, right, for us to expect our kids to start acting like adults. But it's hysterical when you think of them that way. So let me give you a few examples of what I mean. Let me see if I can find some that are not inappropriate. So essentially what we do, the game is you share a story, and do that in the comments, by the way. This could be really fun. Share a story about something a coworker did today, but the coworker is your kid, or it could be your pet, whatever. Um, Let me give you some examples. Let me find some that are not inappropriate. I might even share some that are inappropriate. So just be aware. First one, my coworker stumbled naked down the hall while eating a cracker. My coworker keeps stripping down to her underwear and demanding dry Fruit Loops for snacks. Earlier, she put some Fruit Loops in her underwear for later. One of my coworkers just peed in my bed. One of my coworker is learning from my husband. um, my coworker demands pancakes or they will not work. I think I actually have had a coworker that did that, a real coworker. My coworker keeps throwing his pacifier at my wife, who is 4 months away from onboarding employee number two. That's a good one. My coworker ate mac and cheese in her underwear and then violently pooped her pants and threw a fit about it. Oh, wow. My coworker woke up late and has been complaining about everything since they got here. Listen, let's not pretend that we all haven't dealt with that actual coworker before. One of my coworkers used a stapler and printer paper to craft himself a complete leprechaun uniform, which he wore over his pajamas while he chased his younger coworker around the office. These are great. So these are really good examples of look at the absurdity in the situation and laugh at it because we'll probably never encounter something like this again. We will learn some enormously valuable lessons. Most of our businesses will come out stronger. I promise you, if you stay the course and you stick with it and you use this opportunity to learn and make yourself better, your business, this now, I'm not saying this won't be painful because it will be. This is going to be painful. Any change, any growth is painful. But if you use this opportunity to learn, if you stay connected to people who can speak life into your business and into your, your situation, you'll come out better for this. All right. So that's all I got for you today. I'm committed to, again, I will go live every single day. If you have some specific topics that you want me to cover, and I can cover a very broad range of topics, put them in the comments and I'll try to get to them. So tomorrow, I am going to talk to you guys about leading your team through challenging time of change and transition, and I'll have a list of things that you can use to get through that. So hopefully this was helpful for you. Really appreciate you watching, and let me know in the comments how you're doing. Take care. All right, let's close this thing out. You can tell that I don't use Zoom to record myself a lot. Bye now.